let's jump into Fluke for real, because it's always fun to talk about the big names, talk about the big performances, have a little bit of a breakdown of fantasy performance and also just mental, because of what's going to happen here. So, but let's jump into it. Good side of things. So a handful of guys here for us to talk about, Wes. Starting out with Brian Thomas Jr., rookie wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 22 fantasy points, 21.9, but I'm generous. 21.9 fantasy points on 9 targets, 6 catches for 86 and a touchdown. Has 1 carry for 13 yards, 22 points. Good output here from Brian Thomas Jr. Team kind of sucks, dude. So I don't really know what to make of this.
Well, I'll make it up this way here. Christian Kirk has been on a consistent 2-game streak of having some nice volume and some nice potential, but I had to remember from this game, there's a reason they drafted him in the first round. And Brian Thomas Jr. is the real deal. He was Malik Neighbors' teammate. If Neighbors wasn't at LSU, or if Brian Thomas Jr. was on a different team in a different college, he could have been top 10. I think they try to kind of cancel each other out. Neighbors stands out for obvious reasons, but I got to call for real on this. I think he is the best part of the Jacksonville Jaguars offense.
Yeah. I think this is for real. I think a lot of people didn't remember or haven't thought about the fact that he had a postseason operation that he is recovering from, and he still scored a touchdown in week 1. And so he's been getting featured more and more here. Luckily, Doug Peterson took my advice and pulled his head out of his ass, and Christian Kirk is also being more featured. So there you go. But anyways, that's I do like BTJ,
big fan,
and I think he's gonna
Peterson.
Big fan. I like BTJ though, and I think this is for real as well. Chase Brown, hey, he did it, guys. The speculation we had this offseason of Chase Brown being just a monster, being a great guy. 23 fantasy points for your fantasy football teams, 15 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did it. And it was a fluke. So don't know what to tell you. It's disappointing because it's maybe sell high as you can. But I mean, I'm not even like, you notice how we didn't say Chase Brown in our waiver wire? Because if you ever have smart league mates, he's already been dropped. It's not somebody that we're chasing here, at least for me, Wes. I don't know if it's the same for you, but
I like it if it wasn't for how dominant Zach Moss has been.
Yeah.
If Zach Moss had a bad game, or even if Zach Moss had 2 bad games in a row and Chase Brown stepped into this role, I would say for real. But I mean, if I have him, I'm not going to drop him. But I'm going to lean towards a fluke as well. I'm going to call this a fluke.
Yeah, do it again and we'll see. DeAndre Swift. Oh, dude. Right when he was up against the ropes.
Here we go.
And we were going for the knockout. 30 fantasy points is the RB. I think Kenneth Walker took that from him, but on Monday night. But is a top 2 running back on the week for fantasy. 16 carries, 93 yards and a touchdown, 7 catches, 7 targets for 72 yards. I have to call fluke because he's been so bad. Dude, they put the graphic up on the screen that was like, DeAndre Swift, 42 carries, 87 yards this season. And I screamed. I mean, there's no way that's true. Like, there's no way that's actually what we're looking at here. And it was. And maybe he saw it on the screen too and was like, all right, I got to put a little more respect on my name here. I got to call fluke, but I don't know. What do you think?
I also will call a fluke because in the same way that actually it's not even the same as anything else. Adunze is going to be a very important part of this offense. And so when he's featured and he's healthy, I don't think there's anybody else on that team. DJ Moore's doing fine. And in some ways, you can't not start DeAndre Swift because of how depleted the running back position feels at the moment. But for all intents and purposes, I say this is a fluke as well. I don't think he's going to be above 15 points very often. I think hardly for the rest of the season. So
no,
but sure, if you want to start him, I get it.
So high if anyone believes that this is the start of something good.
Yeah.
Dontayvion Wicks, we mentioned him already. Get him on the waiver wire. I can't call a definitive fluke or for real on this, but if he turns into the guy that He takes over that X wide receiver role. Jaden Reed's kind of the gadget guy. I think this could turn into something for real. He definitely is a very talented guy.
I'm nothing to add. I totally agree.
Oh, great. Cool. Sweet. Love it.
Yeah.
Lad McConkey. Love this guy. Okay, so here's the thing. Ready? This is for real in games against good teams. Like in games against good offenses where the Chargers are going to have to just try and keep up and score, which is what this should have been and what I believe they schemed for this week. That is when Lad McConkey is involved. He has a great touchdown catch, but still, you love the target share, almost a 30% target share, 7 targets, 5 for 67. I thought he was going to break away another long, he had a long catch and run after the catch and thought that was going to be a good one, and he was going to break it for a touchdown, didn't get there. But he is, I don't want to hear this whole Quentin Johnson mess. Like Lad is the top wide receiver for this team for fantasy.
Johnston's
no doubt about it. But it's not in these games where they can run the ball out and they're not playing against good offenses. I'm not going to roll out Lad. I rolled out Lad this week because I was like, they're going to have to throw the ball and they're going to have to, the scheme is going to be less on the ground. So it's for real in games against good offenses. In games where they can just run the ball out, it's not going to be for real.
And I'll add that, obviously, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the Chargers have a bye week next week. The next week after that, they're playing the Broncos. So not only not a high-powered offense, but one of the best secondaries, at least Patrick Surtain, if he covers McConkey at all. So, what are you saying?
Cortland Sutton's a beast, dude. Did you see
Sutton is awesome, dude.
At one point, Cortland Sutton had 62 receiving yards. The graphic was Sutton has 62 of the Broncos' 55 receiving yards because Bo Nix had negative receiving yards to start the game. It was like, dude, how did this just happen? What is going on? But
that is remarkable.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's a 2-game winning streak for Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish it up with McConkey. After week 6, 7, 8, 9 is a great matchup for McConkey because it's against the Cardinals. Bad defense and high-powered offense, and then against the Saints, week 8, and then week 9 are the Browns. I feel like that's when you can kind of roll out McConkey in your flex if you need an option like that, or if another wide receiver goes down. But I think you're right. I think this is for real. Matchup circumstantial. Circumstantial. There it is.
Josh Downs, a guy that we love, Wes. 22.2 fantasy points. 8 catches on 9 targets for 82 and a touchdown, and I'm so sorry to say that it's a fluke. If Anthony Richardson is more hurt, then it's for real. Because something about old white men throwing Josh Downs the football, I don't know. It just happens. Gardner Minshew last year, Joe Flacco now. It goes to show the player that Josh Downs is. The guy is the way he can get open, the way he can be a weapon in the offense and be a quarterback's best friend is truly the role that he plays. However, Anthony Richardson, say it with me, sucks ass. So he doesn't throw him the football. So unfortunately, this is a fluke. I said that right when you said Flacco that. Starts.
Just so you know, like there's a delay. I said that exactly. So, okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. We'll fix it in post. Anyway, do you agree? I mean, it's sad, but I think it's true.
If Flacco is starting, I think you can roll out Downs, honestly. If Flacco starts at any more, Flacco will start again this year. He will start because he didn't start last week. But with Flacco, it's for real. With Richardson, it's a fluke.
Sad. Oh, man. Love this guy. Xavier Legette, 19.6 fantasy points, 6 catches on 10 targets for 66 yards and a touchdown. His first touchdown of his NFL career. Did you see that celebration, Wes?
I did.
What a time. They asked him about it after the game. Through his very southern accent, doing this whole riding the horse, riding young buck or whatever, or young bull. I don't know what it was, but I'm ready to say this is for real. We liked Xavier Legette coming into the season. As much as you'd love for it, Wes, not all of the passes can go to Deontay Johnson, and Adam Thielen's out. And it just feels like the target share, the target breakdown really goes between Deontay, Xavier Legette, and Chuba. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Chuba / Panthers RB1 in the future. We'll talk about that next week probably. But I love Legette, and this makes me really happy.
Deontay Johnson's the only one allowed to have the football. Carolina. No more Legette.
Get that through your ginger head. Anyway, yeah, it's for real.
Yeah, but of course with Andy Dalton, this is for real. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's enough of that. Having fun. Let's jump into the bad side of things because just need to. Let's start it out. There's a lot of stars we're about to talk about here we're a month in, and it's concerning. So let's start it out with Kyler Murray, Wes. My fantasy MVP. Tough week 1. Bounce back week 2. It's the quarterback 1. 2 weeks in a row. Dude just ate shit against the Commanders. That's the matchup. That's the matchup you feast upon. Like that's the one you dream of. He was my QB1 this week. Check out our Discord to be able to see that. He was my QB1 this week against the Commanders. It should have been it's a home run play. What are we doing with Kyler?
I feel that there is still just a little bit of chemistry building with him, with his new head coach, getting Marvin Harrison locked in, which sounds silly since he scored a touchdown every week after the first one. Right. But I still think they have to improve, and they are improving, and they're learning how they work as an offense. Who's the number 2 consistently? I'm going to chalk this up to Fluke. Because if he had rushed the same way that he did in the first 3 weeks, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation because he's getting about 5 rushes and 50 yards. And he just didn't rush at all for whatever reason. Right. Maybe that's what the Commanders did. Maybe they just locked around him. Maybe that's what other teams are going to do in the future. But I'm still going to call that a fluke, and I've got high hopes for Kyler Murray still.
He had a slight limp every single time he was walking off the field. I saw it. And I kept wondering, when is he not get? He's not going to go into the next drive. Something they're going to announce something, and they never ended up talking about it. Keep an ear out for that because it's definitely something to monitor and a little bit of a concern. Yeah, it's tough. He has a great first drive, leads a drive down the field, touchdown to Marvin Harrison. Yeah. It's this game is exactly what we wanted it to be. There's going to be 80,000 points scored in this football game. This is going to be so good. And then they score 7 more points the rest of the game. And it's just dude, this is it. It's concerning. I mentioned it earlier. I have Kyler Murray in many leagues. I have him in a league where I also have Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels had been on the trade block, and I was getting ready to trade him because Kyler is my fantasy MVP. Kyler gets the 49ers next week. I do not feel great about that matchup, and I'm going to be starting Jaden Daniels, the QB1 in fantasy, over Kyler Murray. I'm going to be starting Joe Burrow over Kyler Murray next week as well. I do not like the matchup, and after 2 down weeks, QB1 in week 2, but outside the top 15 every other week, it's a little concerning. I still believe, and I do believe you're right, Wes, there is chemistry to be built, but it's definitely a little bit of a concern. Next one here is Josh Allen. 2 weeks as the quarterback 1 in fantasy football. 2 weeks outside the top 25 quarterbacks in fantasy football. It's not like you're going to move on from Josh Allen because you've seen 2 QB1. He's at 50% for being the top quarterback on the week. So it's not like you're going to move on. So I guess I can call this a little fluky, but they were never in this game against the Ravens at all. Never.
Embarrassed.
From the word go. The Ravens' first play, Derrick Henry ran 87 yards for a touchdown, and he looked as fast as Devon Achane doing it. And I was like, what just happened? So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to call fluke because it's Josh Allen and because he's shown he's elite and he will be elite. And,
what are you calling fluke to, though?
Can't do that.
You calling fluke to top?
What do you mean?
To like him not being the number one? Do you think he can still be top 5? Do you think he's out of the top 5 at what you seeing from the offense? Where are you re-ranking him now?
I think he can still be top 5. I don't know if he finishes 1. That's definitely in question. I think he can still be top 5 though. I mean, it's the offense looks good. It does. This is a rough game. And even in the prior week when he was not in the top 25, the offense looked good. I think ultimately they're happy winning football games more than Josh Allen QB1 weeks for fantasy football. So it may not be the lighted up kind of weeks every single week, but he is still. I think this is a fluke as far as being outside the top 25. I think more often than not he'll be for a 12-man league a QB1. I think he still has the elite rushing upside. So
I'll just add that I think there's a chance he's going to finish outside the top 5. And I think when you look at specifically week 4, Stephon Diggs looked pretty good. And then you also go specifically to the first round rookies that the Bills had a chance to have. Xavier really looked pretty nice. And then Xavier Legette had a nice touchdown and got 20 points. And I think that is going to push Allen possibly out of the top 5 for fantasy. Because when James Cook can't get going, how many times is Khalil Shakir going to be down the field that often for a nice chunk play? So I think there's a chance that as far as him being bottom of the top 10, that's for real. But as far as panicking on Josh Allen, no, absolutely not. But that's where I'm not panicking. I'm going to spin that angle.
Yeah, that's fair. Patrick Mahomes, 15 fantasy points, and this is for real. I'm so serious. This is for real. Mahomes has been a top 10 weekly fantasy quarterback once since week 7 last year. Once.
Oh, whoa.
Once. That's it. One time he's been a top 10 quarterback on the week since week 7 of 2023. This is for real. He needs to be. I meant it when I said it last week. I would start Sam Darnold over Patrick Mahomes until I'm proven otherwise. And I'm not proven otherwise yet. So Sam Darnold over Mahomes easily. Easily. EASILY.
Do you go as far as to if Mahomes is your only quarterback and you really like your bench, do you go as far as to drop Mahomes, or is that a little too far? Swap him out with someone else.
He just lost Rashee Rice, dude. No, drop him. I don't care at this point. You can drop Patrick Mahomes in fantasy football.
Because Kelsey hasn't been the guy yet. He had his best week of the season, but he hasn't been outstanding.
Yeah. No. You can drop Mahomes.
No Pacheco?
I promise you.
Wow.
Sam Darnold over Mahomes.
Okay. Here we
Probably
go.
Baker Mayfield.
There are a lot of better quarterbacks.
Probably Derek. I won't go Derek Carr yet. I need to see it again. But you can drop Mahomes. I
Andy
promise
Dalton?
you. Almost. One more week. One more week. Show me one more week, and I'll see it. One more. I'm not going to give Derek Carr the cold shoulder because he had 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So Andy, give me one more, and I'll see it. Anyway, Bijan Robinson, 11.4 points, second lowest opportunities in his career. It's a little troubling to see this. I'm not worried yet. They love the guy and they feature him, and Raheem Morris, I guess, doesn't care about stats. But I'm not worried yet, but it was definitely there was a hot hand being ridden in the backfield. And Algier, I'll be honest, Algier looked better than Bijan did on Sunday, and I can't blame the staff for giving Algier the opportunities. I felt like he was rolling. So I'm not worried, but it was a little definitely not what you love to see.
I will go. I will take this a step further, though. This is starting to smell a little bit like the brewings of a potential fantasy bust. It's just starting to getting wafts of it. Because here's a guy in the first round. Everyone had a consensus top 3 for him. He's yet to be top 10 on the week. He has not been the dominant fantasy running back we've wanted. And I can't go as far as to say trade him while you can, because who are you going to trade him for? We need running backs. He's healthy and getting footballs handed off to him, so that's already a value. But there's something about Bijan right now that I'm not loving. I'm not loving just 11 opportunities. That's not what I want from some people. Took him first overall. I took him over McCaffrey. I was pretty certain about that, and that's already better payoff. But There's something about this that I'm not liking, and I am worried. I'm not doing anything about it yet, but I'm going to start considering this as a potential trade candidate if I have Bijan.
That's fair. That's fair to discuss. Garrett Wilson, we already kind of mentioned it. 7.1 fantasy points. They're just not meshing yet, but we're a month in, so I'm not sure what exactly we're waiting on. I mean, he had Patrick Surtain, so I understand that, and you can kind of chalk that week. Not 100%, but you can kind of chalk it. I'm going to call Fluke. I believe Garrett Wilson is really talented, man, and I don't know what's up, but it's Nathaniel Hackett, really, if I'm being honest. Hackett can suck a nut, dude. I hate that
maybe
guy.
it is Nathaniel Hackett. However, there was something that I noticed, which was last year, Garrett Wilson had the targets. He was like top 3 in targets last season. Don't fact check me on that, but he was definitely top 10. Fact check me on that one. He's definitely top 10 in targets. And catches. And he had over 1,000 yards last season. So what was the separator between him from last season and the top 10 that we think he can be? Touchdowns. He's got one. He did it on Thursday night against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And if he's not finding the end zone, I benched him. Last week. I said he was a dud, and I said it's against Patrick Surtain, and I made the right move, and I feel smart about that. But he's already been on my bench, and it was the right move, and so now I don't know if I can roll him out. So I'm gonna go a little bit further and say I'm gonna say for real until proven otherwise.
Fair enough, dude. It's a decent concern to have. I will say that. Let's talk about one more wide receiver here, and it's Brandon Aiyuk. 6.8 fantasy points, 2 catches on 5 targets for 48 yards. Not what you love to see. Not what you love to see this season. Worst 4-game stretch of Brandon Aiyuk's career. I need your help, Wes. Is this fluker for real? Because this feels like the opportunity for a struggling team who needs a cheap flex to buy low for a guy that we both know is super talented. But what do we do here? Talented. Like, is he a buy low right now, or is this for real?
I don't. So I'll put it this way: you have a chance to get Brandon Aiyuk or Dontayvion Wicks is sitting there on the waiver wire. What do you take?
I think I'd still take Aiyuk based on a couple factors. I mean, a lot of mouths in Green Bay. Plus, we've seen Aiyuk be really good 2 seasons in a row. But I understand it's a fine question and it's worth thinking about. But I would still go Aiyuk.
I push it even further. Okay, I see you, and I raise you the question: would you rather have Brandon Aiyuk or Juwan Jennings right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a fine question to bring up.
Kittle scored, which is good for him.
Yeah,
Mason still balled out.
I'd still go Aiyuk, man. Slumps happen. He wasn't with a team all offseason. That hasn't affected Jamar Chase. But I don't know. I'm wondering if there's something deeper here, and that if it's like a McCaffrey scenario, like is the McCaffrey absence, does that somehow affect Ayuk's ability to like take the top off the defense and be able to be that explosive guy who gets those, those high percentage first down pickup kind of plays? I would
argue against that just because of how well Jordan Mason has been, man. He's been a top 5 running back. He has been amazing. So they're not lacking in rushing production. And I think the difference with Aiyuk and Jamar Chase is that Chase is the clear alpha. Aiyuk isn't even the best playmaker on the team, let alone the best playmaking wide receiver. Debo is a better football player. And I know 49ers fans are going to argue that Aiyuk is the better pure receiver, but I think he's been demoted behind Juwan Jennings, which puts him third at best. And so I go as far as to say this is for real. And then I'd rather roll out Juwan Jennings, and I'm keeping Jennings because here, I'll put this in here in case it's a victory lap Tuesday. I think Deebo Samuel, his calf strain is going to turn into an Achilles problem. He's going to be on the bench with McCaffrey at some point too. It's going to be out for multiple weeks of the season. So I'm keeping Juwan Jennings for that reason, but Jennings had like a 70-yard catch that got called back or something. He had another big bomb as well. Like, Jennings is the guy. Aiyuk has not been the one that Purdy's been trusting. I think this is for real.
Do you want to mark your words and say Juwan Jennings finishes the season higher at wide receiver than Brandon Aiyuk does?
Yeah, I'll mark my words. Juwan Jennings finishes with more fantasy points than Brandon Aiyuk this season.
God, that was like out of a.
He's got a great head start.
That was out of like a coming. Yeah. I'll mark him. You watch me mark him, and I'll mark him.
I love film. Come on, what are you talking
about? Okay. Kyle Pitts, 0 points. Donut. That's not fun. The landscape kind of sucks. So unless we've seen good from him, so I'm going to say Fluke.
He scored week
but
one.
It is concerning that it does feel like it's like, oh, the tide is shifting, and where we stood previously on Kyle Pitts will be a bigger factor in the passing game than Drake London will. That's shifted a little bit, is what it feels like. And so, yeah it sucks. But I won't say for real on 0 points.
Yeah. Do you remember in our last mock draft episode when it was my turn to pick, we're looking at Kyle Pitts, and I said, hey, I heard I was reading something about the targets in Atlanta. Drake London saw 43 targets in 2 days. And in that same 2 day span, Kyle Pitts saw 3 targets. And we both felt that was an overreaction. In fact, you said, I think you're a librarian because you're reading into that too much. Well, I feel like Drake London and Darnell Mooney are probably the only starting pass catchers right now. I don't know if we can trust Kyle Pitts. I'm not going to drop him. He's not droppable.
Yeah.
I know 0 is awful. There's another player that I think is droppable.
Yeah, the next guy is droppable, and it's Mark Andrews. And it's I don't really know how he can have 3 years in a row being just an elite weapon for Lamar Jackson and then just fall off a cliff. Off a very tall cliff. Like, he is not involved whatsoever. Which, Wes, you were less enthusiastic about Andrews coming into this season, but even at the point of entering the year, we both had come to a point of going, yeah, he'll still be involved. He'll still be involved, but it's definitely you were more concerned than I was. This is I need to just say, I think this is genuinely the most confused and disappointed I've been about a fantasy football player in a long time. This is it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the lack of involvement. I mean, he's the tight end 37. He's the tight end 37 2 weeks in a row, 0 fantasy points. He has 12.5 points on the season. He is playing his last 2 games, 33% of snaps and 46% of snaps. He has 2 targets over his last 2 games. And I wonder what's the reason? What's happening? Why is this a thing? Here's what's a thing. The Ravens finally have a key piece to their offense that they've strived to find for many years now. And it is a star running back. And Todd Monken can be as high pass percentage for the Bucs as he wants to be. In Baltimore, when they're running the football, dude. And it has been concerning, and now it's just like sad, infuriating, and just upsetting. He's not involved. He's 2 weeks in a row of 0. You can't ignore it. And I mean it when I say, like, go drop him for Zach Ertz. I'm so serious. Here's his remaining schedule. Yeah. Ready? You tell me if there's a game here that you think they can't get up by running the football and then just continue down that road. Cincinnati, Washington, Tampa, Cleveland, Denver, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Philly, Giants, Pittsburgh, Houston. Cool. You want to hold on to Mark Andrews until the fantasy championship when he plays Houston, and then maybe he'll have a good game? Like he is like, this isn't, mark my words, this isn't the last 0 we see from Mark Andrews this season. The way the Ravens offense runs, he gets game scripted out of the offense so easily. And it's not just him. Like, likely you were very high on West coming into the season. We saw after week 1, he was the top waiver ad. We spent a lot of fab on him. Dude's right there with Andrews, falling off the face of the planet. The tight end is just game scripted out of this offense now. Whereas it's been just an absolute
unbelievable
master. It's been a master class with the tight end for the last 3 years. This sucks. But Zach, I truly rest of the season, Zach Ertz over Mark Andrews. I'm so serious.
All pass catchers. I'll add on to that. Zay Flowers was completely irrelevant too. Like, there's that. Then I think back to all the years that Henry was in Tennessee, and when the Titans were down in the fourth quarter, they ran with Derrick Henry. Like, he is a game changer still. And the reason I didn't put Henry in my top 10 is because I thought Lamar Jackson and Henry would kind of cancel each other out with the rushing upside. No, they're both kings.
Goodness,
they're both kings.
Incredible.
They're both incredible. And just the most amazing thing, just as a quick reminder, I know most of our listeners are pretty well versed in the NFL world, but there are 32 teams, which means that there are backup tight ends scoring more points than Mark Andrews, man.
I'm so tired of it.